So hearing voices is quite a common phenomena, and what is probably the most dangerous about this popularity is that majority of us we make assumption that it's got everything to do with mental health. But the fact of the matter is that it is a really common phenomena, and science confirms that 3 to 10% of global population are affected by hearing voices. So in our lifetime, 10%, up to 10% of global population, we will experience hearing voices. And you might ask yourself, what is hearing voices? How can you recognize that those voices are in your head or anywhere else in your body? So I think the first rule comes first rule, and that means it is you who's hearing those voices, nobody else is hearing those voices. But it's never that easy, because actually you can hear it in one ear or both of your ears. Perhaps it might be in your head. Perhaps it might be from the outside source. Perhaps it is at the very time when you talk to other people. Perhaps it's when you're going to sleep. And those voices, they can be heard by you in quite a range, quite a variety of experiences. You could hear music in your head, you could hear noises of animals, noises of cars, you could hear noises, voices of your parents. You can hear familiar noises, background noises, arguments, but also unfamiliar noises that might give you quite fright. You can be called by name by those voices, or you might think that you're seeing or hearing people from your past. You can also experience hearing, listening different dialects. And those voices, they can come across as a whispering, but also as a shouting. They can, they can use different pitch to your experience, and they can be of adult or of a child voice as well. So, the natural reaction to it would be that it gives you fright. Ignites in you fight and flight response. You might experience them as a negative experience. You might even hear them advising you to hurt someone or even hurt yourself. And what's important to mention here is that there's no one here to tell you whether those voices are good or bad. You have to go with your own experiences, and you have to be honest about how is it that you're experiencing them, because that's what matters. Your experience. You are a PhD, in your own experiences of this phenomena. However, those voices that you hear, they can also be, let's call it, positive voices, meaning they can come to give you a warning. They can come to remind you about things that you forget. They can encourage you, comfort you, be supportive. They can be nurturing and caring. So you got an idea that not all the voices are the same. Now, the next question is, why do we hear voices? And there is variety of reasons. When we wake up, what might happen, we half asleep and half awake, and brain doesn't really register. It's still sort of dreaming, so that might evoke you hearing voices. It might be due to you having poor sleep routine, like you're not preparing yourself for sleep. It might be due to the fact that maybe you're fasting or maybe you're hungry. Hearing voices is also induced by physical illness. It also might be sign of illness, but very often or not, for us as a therapist, we see clients coming with the brain damage, brain changes induced by illegal drugs induced as well. And those people, they hear normally negative voices when they're trying to come clean. And it's a common struggle. However, what's really interesting in science is to find out that voices can be also had because of your stress or worry. If it's not managed well and it's on quiet level, because you're always anxious and worried. And another thing in science, which I find interesting, is that you can hear voices because of past trauma experiences. So it could be, a direct reaction to PTSD, or even dissociative disorder. Now, if you if you suffered trauma abuse such as bullying in your past, you might also hear those voices of bullying in your head, and that is here to re-traumatize you in a sense. People who lost their loved ones, they also hear the voices of those lost beloved ones, especially in their sleep, and that is also a common phenomenon. And if you're working with spirituality, or if you're working with Muslims or Islamic therapies, you would know that we are in touch with souls from different realms. We call it barzakh. And when those people they have some unfinished business with you, or they worry that you are over worried about their affairs, they might come to you with a good message, or they might come to you with a warning. Or they just might come to you because they like to spend time with you, and that is really, really common, especially in that period when it's close to losing them from this reality, from this realm. Now, we also hear voices when we growing spiritually. You see, some of us are really sensitive to not only the visual materialistic world, but also the world which is invisible. So how batin and I'm speaking Arabic now, I'm sorry. So how unseen and how seen world, they work together. They have a rule of no communication. By rule, I mean in Islamic healing, in Islamic eschatology as well, we believe that those two worlds, those two realms, they shouldn't communicate. Like the world of the jinn, they are being recommended not to speak to us unless they are cheeky jinns, unless they're disbelievers. Then they come to scare us. They come to us with waswas, meaning the whispers, which causing self-doubt, which causing suspicion, which causing depression, sometimes even suicidal thoughts and doubts, religious and spiritual doubts. So if you are experiencing spiritual world, please be prepared. Please be familiar with Zahir and Batin, meaning the fact that those voices that you're hearing, they might come from a materialistic world, but also unmaterialistic world. And on top of that, if you are really tuning yourself with your own spirituality, with your own soul, you will start hearing kawatir. And what kawatir is, it's a phenomena in Islamic healing and Islamic psychology records, which tells us that we have our inner voices as well. And those inner voices, they probably in psychology are best described as inner critique. Now, the other reason why we might hear voices, or the last reason why we might hear voices, is also because it is actually a pathology of our brain. And we actually are discussing him a serious mental health problem, including psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar, socio-affective disorders, or severe depression. So at that time, when you start having inclination that, I've been struggling with it for quite so long, I'm not being myself, it is really best to attempt to get testing done against those socioaffective disorders, and make sure that you don't need any further help. And what help is available or advisable is obviously medication, is in drugs, but also talking therapy, spiritual therapies, natural medicine, support of your loved ones, and actually pinning them down to writing them down, like having a journal about your thoughts. And if you know how to do it, or maybe if you could get help of professional help to help you to do it, is to start arguing with them, challenging them. And CBT is really particularly really good with that. And some people, they find it useful to talk to those voices, and some people find it even more useful when you scream at those voices. Self-destruction is really important, or having a self-care plan. You can never go wrong with having a self-care plan, because it is part of your precaution. It is part of you respecting yourself, giving yourself a hug over a manner of health. So try to include sports, relaxation. Again, sleep is really important, and nutrition and prayers, whatever is it that fits in your spirituality. Now, I hope that's helpful. Don't forget to sign to my channel, AJS Therapy, and I see you with another video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.